Building your own world for Dungeons and Dragons or other fantasy games is so simple that I'm going to explain how to do it and do it all in about 10 minutes and in one take. Because I'm Bob, this is where we learn how to have more fun playing RPGs together, and to build your own D&D world, you must start by asking one question. Which worlds do I know and love? For example, if you're very familiar with the deserts of Arrakis because you love the stories of Dune, then you gotta let that spice flow. Or, if you've even tried to read the Silmarillion because you love every other Tolkien story, then you should step out your door and see where that road takes you. It is crucial to answer this question by choosing 1 to 3 worlds that you know well enough and love deeply enough to serve as a strong foundation in your world. As in, when you're 3 hours into a session and you have to make up a person, place, or thing on the fly, you can draw on those touchstones and do it confidently. But more than that, consistently. By choosing a small number of inspiring touchstones, you will create your own unique blend of world-building flavor to sprinkle on everything. Environments, locations, people, languages, monsters, treasure. However, to make this guide as widely as useful as possible, we'll continue our example with 2 foundations that many, many people know and love: the Elder Scrolls and D&D. Specifically though, a slightly weirder and pulpier version of D&D that I know and love, and I think you will too: Dungeon Crawl Classics. Now, before we start using random tables to actually generate this new world in the several minutes remaining, we must properly set our world-building expectations for size. No, you don't need a whole planet or plane of existence. No, you don't need an entire continent with multiple kingdoms or domains. Your world's roots should not be wide, but deep. So start with a small region that takes no more than a few days to travel across. In a sufficiently dangerous world, even that small region feels infinite to the people who call it home. Then if you want, or as your game progresses beyond this initial corner of your world, then you can spend the rest of your life creating fictional calendars and currencies, religions and governments that your players will probably not remember from one session to the next. So, grab a blank piece of paper, or ideally, print out a small hex grid. Next, outline about 3 patches and label them by environment: forest, grassland, mountain, swamp, or ocean. Remember, different sources may inspire different environments, but these 5 are excellent for Elder Scrolls/D&D fantasy, and I will advise that it's rarely as fun as we think it will be to endure TTRPG adventures in deserts and tundra. Cue 100 comments from people who love adventures in deserts and tundra. Next, near the center, mark one area with a settlement. This is an isolated town, mostly populated by humans. Later, when you're ready to expand this world, you can draw a single road linking it to another town with more humans or different kinds of people, but know that this road is an unguarded trail through the wilderness, and it should only connect about 3 settlements total. Now, my favorite part: for each hex or each area covering about a day's worth of travel, roll 2d6 on this painstakingly created table of wilderness sites, broadly accurate to the amounts and distribution of caves, tombs, and other stuff found in Elder Scrolls 4 and 5. Then mark the results. Perfect. These 11 kinds of sites will keep things interesting, especially noting that 2 or more sites might be connected in the same area. But to make them truly worthy of adventure, they must each contain at least 1 monster or band of monsters and 1 chest of loot. Tell that to your players when you begin the campaign. For right now, roll 2d6 on the respective site encounters table, also painstakingly created, to determine what lives there. Nice. And I encourage you to make these monsters mysterious by tacking on 1 or 2 of these weird and fantastic features. You can also use these for the sites, environments, treasure, etc. But I've got another video about that linked below, and you don't really need to roll all these cool features or even all the monsters until your party reaches that area. Pro tip: it's a lot easier to prepare one session at a time and let the tables or your players' imaginations fill in any gaps along the way. Therefore, you don't need to pre-roll all the loot for each chest or monster band, but assuming this little world is for a new campaign or one-shot, then I highly recommend choosing one valuable item and placing it a few days away at one of your pre-rolled wilderness sites to establish your party's first quest. Excellent choice. And yeah, for this one site, roll all the details and use that info to create rumors, which your party may know or learn in town. And perhaps even pre-roll a daily random encounter for the party's travel. That's right, each environment also has a 2d6 table of 11 thematic creatures, and there are additional tables for determining the distance at which your party spots the creature, what the creature is doing when spotted, and even the daily weather, because all these things help me describe a scene on the fly. Yeah, that's a lot cooler than D6 wolf-like things just attacking for no reason. Like this video if you agree. Really, as long as your party is keeping an eye out, they should almost always see this strange monster you created before it sees them. And at night, as long as they keep a fire going, monsters might stare at their campsite and make weird noises, but will almost always leave the party alone. Wait, what about site maps in that starting town? Its government, religion, currency, calendar, or at least NPCs? Take another deep breath and remember that some players just don't care about any of that stuff, though many players do care, but won't remember from one session to the next, and a few players who do care and will remember, they're usually the ones who are happy to help you decide those details of the world together. So if your site requires a map, you can find a free one online or make one in a minute by rolling some dice and using these other tables to flesh it out, but that's more dungeon creation than world building for the purposes of this video. Then, remember that your starting town is merely a launch pad for that first quest, and only worth your time if the players seem interested in revisiting it later. So, all we need are the bare necessities. A single general store where they can purchase basic equipment, and maybe a single inn/tavern so they have a place to rest, spend some gold, chat with locals, pickpocket, start fights, whatever they're into. The town's government? That's even easier. A mayor or a small council, take your pick. It's closely tied to a guild for the town's main industry, logging, mining, fishing, whatever, or the town's religion. What religion? The one devoted to a rival deity or the same deity as the one worshipped by that one character in your party, and you can let that player come up with interesting info about this religion and probably how it pertains to this valuable item they're about to go questing for. Again, you can let your players and random tables, like this one, fill in the gaps for names or anything else you didn't decide beforehand. And then as for NPCs, you can use those cool rumors instead of a quest giver, and please know that most RPG towns and organizations really only need one, maybe two NPCs to interact with the party. And that NPC should be easy to make because everything about them should represent the town or organization they belong to. Then if you want, give that one NPC one weird detail. Your players won't remember both the color of their hair, the sound of their voice, their name and age, or anything else, unless it's all really silly or something they came up with, so one weird detail's good. And then, back to currency and calendars, gold pieces, Sunday through Saturday, January to December. It was good enough for Tolkien, it's good enough for us too, and we can add some fun holidays later if we want. So, for a free sample world, complete with sights, monsters, treasure, weird features, a serviceable starting town, check out the links below. Or to make your own tables using all these to make your own world using all these painstakingly made tables. There's the messing up right at the end of the video. We knew it had to happen. Okay, I'm gonna scroll back on my prompter a little bit there. Here we go. To make your own world using all these painstakingly made tables, pick up a copy of Scrim. It's one of my best sellers, and there's this easily printable booklet version with a big hex grid in the back. I even did all the interior illustrations myself. Or just check out this video on your screen about how to make a D&D campaign. Thanks to my amazing supporters on Patreon for making this possible, and keep building.